Shalom. Before I get started, as always, I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, where we learn this truth. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect that they're scattered abroad, pushing this truth on the four corners of the earth, risking lives and freedom to do so. It's the brother Tazamak coming back with a quick lesson. I'm going to call this lesson the old paths. Okay? And when we're in this truth, we're required to conduct ourselves in a certain manner. Okay? We're required to conduct ourselves in a certain manner. In the correct way, like our forefathers did. All right? Now, with that being said, you always had the wicked among Israel that didn't walk in the right way. And they were judged. The Heavenly Father doesn't promote the do as thou wilt spirit. That Aleister Crowley, that Anton LaVey, you could just walk around and sky's the limit. You can basically do whatever you want to do. The Lord is not for that. Okay? Just like Elder Yashawama and Elder Ariala did a video some time ago talking about an etiquette and how you behave in this truth, which is right. But you also have to, with that being said, that goes into following the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of your ability. Just like I was bringing up earlier, just like our forefathers did. Okay, and mistakes were made. Mistakes are made now. They were in the chains of darkness, just like we're in the chains of darkness now. Okay, and if you could receive it, that was us back then as well. Because reincarnation is something that's very real. That's not a hoax. It's not a made-up path. Okay? When you come in this truth, you realize everything around us is death. Everything around us is death. The only life is these scriptures, this truth. Okay? Well, everybody's planning, vacations and holiday ends and parties, sports events. Real shit is coming, man. So you want to make sure you're behaving and you're conducting yourself in the right manner. Number one, following the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of your ability. Okay, repenting, putting on a new man, which nobody else is doing but the elect, the men of the Lord. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some scriptures. I'm gonna start off in the book of Romans. Okay. Yeah, Romans 15 and 4. It reads, "For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of scriptures might have hope." Going into the old stories of our forefathers. Okay, how the Lord never forsook us. He was with us. It builds your faith. Okay, it builds your faith tremendously when you stay locked into reading, studying. Okay, and all of it comes together. Doing lessons, taking care of your health, everything comes together, right? But I'm saying, when you read, so you plug it into your power source, like Elder Kazak says. Our secret weapon. Reading is very important. Edification builds your faith, like I said. But one of the things that you read about is how our forefathers conducted themselves as well. It doesn't just say that, like Job walked around and he saved his people or something like that, right? It gives details on how they conducted themselves. The scriptures say our Lord was an austere man. Okay, meaning he wasn't a mirthy character. Hey, how you doing? And he did have love and mercy. Okay, but towards his elect, towards his chosen. Okay, and the Lord cares about the nation of Israel as a whole. He just doesn't recognize you guys right now because how you guys are conducting yourself. You guys are not walking in the right ways. All right. So like I was saying earlier, when you read, you get an idea. Okay, this is how Paul conducted himself. This is how John conducted himself. This is how Yahweh Shai conducted himself. All right. Number one being what? Follow the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of our abilities. Okay, that's number one. But if you're not doing that, You're not moving in the right way. You're not moving in the correct manner. You're headed towards death and destruction. You know? So yes, I guess the stories from the past build our faith up, right? Reading them, you know, how Jonah survived in a giant sea creature for a number of days, 3 days. You know, how the Lord delivered Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego out of the fiery furnace, right? Okay, all faith boosters. You know, how the Lord was with Joshua, you know, fighting the Canaanites. All right, you don't just look at the good; you look at everything, though. You look at everything. Why was the Lord with them? Because they followed the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of their ability. They put Yahweh Hashem Yahushai first. They didn't commit idolatry. It's different things like that. Because at one point we all messed up. Okay? Even in the past. But we got right. We were renewed in our mind. We put on a new man. Okay? I'm going to get this next. Let me see. Not the spelling bee champion, Slovakia. Should pick it up. Slovakia. Here we go. Sometimes you don't read it. This is Habakkuk 2:15. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink. Okay? That putteth thy bottle to him. You know, woe, destruction. Who was the main one that gave Yahshua the drink? The drink representing the philosophies. Esau. Okay? And he engulfed the whole world with the bottle, with the philosophies of this place. Which isn't the right ways to conduct yourselves. Which isn't the old path. This is the new way, the modern way, and I'm going to get into that more. You know, a man could be a woman, a woman could be a man, a woman could grow a beard, you know. I saw a Israelite woman that looked like if she wasn't a demon, she wouldn't be bad. You know, she was helping me at this drop yard I go to pick my loads up or drop my loads off, and bitch had a beard. This place is sick. And I had to look again. I'm like, wait a minute, is that a woman? You could tell that before she, the legion of demons jumped on her, that wasn't not bad. But that's the philosophies of this place. They say that that's cool, that's acceptable. It says that put us that bottle to him and make it his drunk, and also drunk off what? The philosophies of this place. Also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness, represents sin. Esau and these other nations look at the state of Israel and laugh. As a nation, laugh, man. Because we're supposed to be the top nation on the planet Earth, and we got reduced to the bottom because of our disobedience. We weren't moving in the correct ways. Let me get this next. Book of Jeremiah 6 and 16. Thus said the Lord Yahweh, stand ye in the ways and see and ask for the old paths. Where is the good way? And walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein. Okay, it brought up the old paths, right? Where's the good way? Meaning the correct way. Okay, the correct way to conduct yourselves, like who? Like our forefathers did. Okay, they walked in the way of the old path, the correct ways to govern your life by the law, statutes, and commandments. That's how we are supposed to govern our lives. It didn't just stop after Paul died, after John passed, after Moses passed. No, the law is not done away with. Okay, and it says, but they said we will not walk therein. That's 2/3, right? Because they got it all. They don't want to hear this word, and they're going to be judged very severely for it, extremely severely. When you read the scriptures, it tells you that the Lord always dealt with the wicked of Israel. Always. There's not one wicked nigga that got away and he just escaped. The nigga that said he was a comforter recently, didn't the Lord take him out? By cancer? Well, people say, oh, well, that guy that was evil, he died in a car accident. That wasn't the Lord. It was just cause. No, that's not true. You know, the Lord could take you out however he decides to. You know, if you're not doing right, the Lord is going to get you. Verse 17. Also, I set watchmen over you, saying, hearken to the sound of the trumpet. You know, the watchman is the elect. Okay? The prophets. Saying, hearken to the sound of the trumpet. You know, the trumpet, you know, we warn our people that evil, bad times is coming. That death is coming. That war is coming. Okay? And it says, say, hearken to the sound of the trumpet, but they said we will not hearken. Again, 2/3. They don't want to listen. They don't want to hear. They don't want to change their ways. They don't want to prepare their minds for what's coming. You prepare by getting right with the Lord. First and foremost, not the weapons of our warfare are spiritual, not carnal. Not getting a bat or an axe or a gun. Okay? So for that, like I said, they're gonna pay severely. You know? Get this next. Book of Judges 5:11. They that are delivered from the noise of the archers, okay, and we're gonna be delivered. You know, noise of the archers being those missiles, okay. And it says, in the places of drawing water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord. You know, the place of drawing water is talking about America, Babylon the Great. There they shall rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord. Let's look up that word rehearse. Okay. So in the Hebrew, it's tanah, to recount, rehearse, tell again. A primitive root identical with through the idea of attributing honor. So lament, rehearse, yeah. So rehearse, you know, basically to repeat, you know, to repeat over and over and over. So that's what we do. You know, we rehearse the righteous acts. We constantly do the righteous acts. It's our heritage, it's our customs. You know, it's required of us. We can't just be out here living life on a limb and then just doing whatever we want to do. A consequence for that is this right here. Let me see. Okay, and I wanted to get everything out of here, Salakia. And it says, in the places of drawing water, which is America, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord, even the righteous acts toward the inhabitants of the villages in Israel. Okay, and that's who this truth is for Israel. All right. Then shall the people of the Lord go down to the gates of the noble, being the leadership, apostles going down. Okay. Let me do this right here. I'm going to close with this, but this is what awaits Jake that don't want to get right. Okay. This is what awaits Jake that don't want to get right. A horrific end. I don't know why. Oh, this is why. Here we go. Here we go. 1 Samuel 3:11, and it reads, and the Lord Yahweh said to Samuel, behold, I will do a thing in Israel, at which both the ears of everyone that hear it shall tingle. You got to realize how horrific a judgment has to be to make your ears tingle, to make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. It's horrific. Okay? And that's what the Lord did. You know, when you go into this account, the Lord was judging the wicked of Israel. The wicked priests of the sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, okay, which they were committing extortion, adultery with the women at the tabernacle. Okay, and then, you know, the Lord put a curse on Eli's house, man. Okay? Eli died, he fell in his chair and broke his neck. Hophni and Phinehas were wicked. You know, and they weren't walking in the correct ways. The Lord took them out. So what you think the Lord's going to do to you people? This is just an example, you know, that the judgment that's going to go out this time around, everybody's ears are going to be tingling, and they're going to be involved in it if they're not right with the Lord. There's no escaping what the Lord has planned. You know, his word is not going to come back to him void. If you're not right, walking in the correct path, destruction awaits you. Lord's will, this was an edifying lesson. With that, I'm going to say shalom.